That was indescribable. For those who joined us at 8:20, then this is Aryan Ramesh. He's a seeker that's joining us from Chicago. And it's a given that he's very talented in playing the mridanga. And what most of you may not know is that he's in grade 7. So this is a lifetime of practice that has come to fruition at such a young age. Thank you, Aryan, for encouraging us to be focused, and we all wish you the best as you continue being a seeker and being a musician. Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. And welcome to the Happiness Series 6. I'm happy, you are too. You can see that I'm happy, but I can't see all of you being happy. So I need you to come closer to your camera and smile. And for those who don't have their cameras on, this means you have to turn your cameras on. And everyone who's joining us through Facebook, join us through Zoom. It's more festive. This party is more happening. I'll begin with a story. One day, a man was getting his haircut at a barber shop. This man was not me, as you can tell. And this barber notices this young boy who's walking in front of the barber shop. This young boy may be in grade 7. His name may be Aryan. I don't know. And this barber taps this man on the shoulder and says, "Do you want to see how foolish this boy is?" And that customer doesn't care, but to indulge the barber, he says, "Sure." So he says, "Come with me." And this barber takes 4 quarters and a $5 bill from his tip jar, and they go outside. And this little boy has cheerfully just walked by, and that barber calls him back and says, "Little boy, come back here." And that little boy keeps walking. He knows not to talk to strangers. But then the barber says, "I have money for you." So then the boy stops and turns back. And this barber puts out both of his hands and says, "You can have these 4 quarters or the $5 bill, but not both. So what do you want?" And this boy is looking at the quarters, at the bill, at the quarters, at the bill, at the quarters, at the bill. And then he takes the quarters and scurries away. And that barber smiles with pride. And that customer says, "That boy was foolish." And they go back inside. The customer has his haircut. He leaves the barber shop, and now he sees that little boy again, leaving an ice cream shop, happily eating his ice cream. And this man is curious about his choice. So he comes to this boy and says, "Why did you choose the 4 quarters instead of the $5 bill? You could have had 5 times that amount." And that boy's just happily eating his ice cream. But he keeps pressing him. "Why did you make this choice?" So finally, in an annoyed way, he looks up and says, "Every time I walk past that barber shop, I get another $1. If I chose that $5 bill, the game would be over." This little boy is very much like us in terms of choosing that which is flashy instead of choosing that which is simple. And this is especially relevant when it comes to happiness. There is a powerful teaching in Sanskrit which shares Tattvamasi. In English, this translates to you are joy. It doesn't matter what city you're joining from, whether you're joining through Facebook or Zoom, you are joy. By show of hands, how many of you believe that? How many of you feel that you are joy? You don't look like it right now. That's why you're part of this workshop, correct? I'm going to share with you a proof that you are joy. This is one of the most impactful proofs that I've come across, and I remember this all the time to help me feel happy. Many of you have heard this. Because of the sake of time, I'm going to have to be brief, but we have days to reflect on this. This proof has 5 parts. I'm going to go from 5 to 1. Here's the 5th facet of this proof. Quality of objects. Quality of objects. If happiness were the quality of object A or B or C, whoever would have that object would be happy. Logically, you agree. Now, if we expand this to a simple matter like ice cream. In our fridge, we have rocket popsicles and we have chocolate ice cream, all things we shouldn't have in our fridge. But when you have 2 young children, this is temporary. So now, suppose all of us had an option of eating vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream. How many of you, by a show of hands, would choose vanilla ice cream? Chocolate ice cream. Some of you never put your hand down. Free ice cream? Who wouldn't want free ice cream? See, if you like vanilla ice cream and you're given chocolate ice cream, then you're not happy. But if happiness was in vanilla ice cream, everyone who would have it would be happy, correct? But there's no object like that. Proof number 4. Quantity of objects. Quantity of objects. Suppose an object has a little bit of happiness, and so if you have a lot of this, then you'll be happy. Makes sense, correct? I was teaching in Toronto some years ago, and I was teaching about simple living, high thinking. And one of the students there, after the class, she came and told me she has 96 pairs of shoes. But she didn't look very happy. And then the next week, when we had class again, she said, now I have 64 pairs of shoes. See, she gave some of those shoes away and she was happier. That was 5, 4, 3. When you're asleep, do you know what time it is? Yes or no? So you're all saying no, because you know if you know what time it is, you're not asleep. When you're asleep, do you know how long your hair is? When you're asleep, do you know if you have hair? When we're asleep, we know nothing, but everyone loves to sleep. Some of you will be asleep soon as I continue to speak. See, despite having nothing, we are happy. Number 2, escaping the unnatural. Escaping the unnatural. When we are feeling frustrated, angry, jealous, and so on, with this feeling, we try to escape from it. Nobody likes to feel jealous. When we're angry, we're told, take a cold shower, breathe, go for a walk. If this was your nature, if this was who you are, why would you escape from it? Escaping the unnatural. And now, number one. This is the most important part of this 5-part proof. Embracing the natural. When you're feeling calm, quiet, you're being patient and forgiving, what do you want to do in that moment, in that experience? Tell me, share in the chat. What do you want to do? You want to do nothing. You just want to be what you're feeling. And that shows, that proves that you are joy. Our community became quite relevant in the virtual space in September of 2016. That is when we started to use Zoom. And the following year, right before winter began in 2017, we had our first happiness series. And we did this to come together to remember that we are joy. Now, fast forward to 2022, we are still coming together to remember we are joy, but our community has become so much more mature and established. Now we try to remember this every day, in the morning, in the evening. And so the happiness series is now more of a meaningful celebration. Every time I say celebration, that should be like a trigger word. You're supposed to smile more. Celebration. Celebration. Good. This is a workshop. There are 4 components to this workshop. The first is downtime. Every day, we will hear lovely live music to help us slow down. The second component, discourse. The third component, dynamics. And the fourth component is dialogue. What's special about this happiness series is that my involvement is very little. You know that I'm going to give the discourses, and that's why you're kind of all over the place and waiting for what happens next. We have diverse contributors to our dynamics and our dialogue, and I'm excited about this. Zooming into the sense of happiness more. On Sunday morning, Sheila and I were just sitting here. I know this looks like a stage studio, but this is actually our living room that we work very hard to keep tidy. I was sitting over there and Sheila was sitting over here. And she said, why is it that we feel happy when we achieve our desires? And I shared, you mean when I get nachos? And she said, and when she gets leggings. Why is it that we feel happy? And I explained that desire is in the intellect. And this desire gets pushed to the mind and starts to shake the mind. It agitates it, it disturbs it to go and get those nachos, to go and get those leggings. And when we do get those nachos, leggings, then that desire temporarily becomes subdued. So the disturbance temporarily becomes subdued and we feel happy. But we tend to be those people who chase after that which is flashy. So we think that happiness is coming from the nachos and the leggings when it's actually coming from our nature. And the implication of this is that one has to be virtuous before one can be joyous. If one is vicious, meaning the opposite of virtuous, one will never experience joy. One will only experience stress, anxiety, dejection. Keeping this foundation in mind, this year's happiness series is focusing on making our personality more powerful or more virtuous. And we will be referencing one of the most powerful virtuous personalities in history, and that is Shri Hanumana. For those who don't know how he looks, he's right behind me in the red. Shri Hanumana is an icon of being virtuous and so being joyous. He really is a visualization for us of how to live virtuously. Each evening of our workshop, we're going to take up 2 virtues, 2 ways to make our personalities more powerful so that we feel our nature is happiness. We begin with our content formally. As I explore the first 2 virtues this evening, I'm going to approach this from 3 perspectives. And you know that I like alliteration, and I know you'll be annoyed by it, but you'll remember more. Those perspectives are, number 1, the perspective from tradition. Number 2, the perspective from ties. Ties means our relationships, what really makes living hard. And number 3, the perspective from techniques. What can I practice right now to become more virtuous? Tradition, ties, techniques. The first personality power is Anima. Anima. This in English, this in terms of physicality is the power to make oneself small. Now we start from the perspective of tradition. When Shri Hanumana was out to find Devi Sita, he ended up finding her, and he observed that she has been staying in a fear-based environment. When one lives in a fear-based environment, then everything can trigger fear. Recently, some of our crew and Sheila and I had gone to a haunted house in Niagara Falls. And this haunted house is a fear-based experience, but Sheila and I go all the time. We know this place. We know what's going to happen. So we were laughing the whole time, and everyone else was jumping the whole time. This sound, that light, because for them, it's a fear-based environment. So Shri Hanumana, he observed that she was staying here, and that if he came in front of her as someone there to help her, but he came in his large form, in a form that she's never seen before, he would trigger more fear. So how big did he make himself? Does anyone know? Can you share in the chat? How big did Shri Hanumana make himself? Let's see if you know. I don't like these at all. Mashaka, which means like a mosquito. And these are not the Mumbai mosquitoes, which you can see. These are the Trinidadian mosquitoes, which you can't see. So he made himself that small and appeared before Devi Sita. And she felt so relieved and freed that Shri Hanumana was with her. Okay. Now, this workshop is not going to teach you how to become a mosquito, okay? People like me are already that annoying like mosquitoes, but this is not a physical power workshop. This is a personality power. So what it means to have anima, to practice anima, is humility. The first virtue, the first personality power is humility. My master, Pujya Swami Tejo Mayananda, he's also back there if you can see. If you look closely, there's a photograph of me walking towards him. He taught us he's sharing with all of us that humility is the value of all values. The value of all values. Now think about this. Suppose I'm an organized person. Suppose I'm a disciplined person, but I go on talking about it. You've never met someone as organized as me. Nobody touches me when it comes to being disciplined. All of a sudden, that value has no value anymore, correct? So humility is the value that gives all other values value. What is humility? Our default or propensity is to feel that we are the doer. Even now, if I ask you a question, what does Mahima mean? And suppose you answered this rightly in the chat, you'll feel like, yeah, I got it right. I should teach the next happiness series. See, our default is that we are the doer, but for someone who's practicing humility, they know that they're not the doer, they are a part of the doing. A part of the doing, which is very different than being the pure doer. They remember that there is a whole. When one remembers in such a micro way about how many parties have been involved for us to get where we are today, then automatically we become more humble. Do you agree? If we remember how much sacrifice our parents have made and dedicated towards us, our doership becomes less. So from tradition, then I shifted to ties, now our technique. This is what we can practice today. Will we practice? Here's where all of you say yes. I don't have to remind you, nod your head. You should feel this. Our technique is engage your responsibility. Engage your responsibility. If you're engaged in your responsibility, what that means is it's as if you're so busy engaging in what you're supposed to do, being the part to the whole, that you don't have any time, you don't have any mind space to think about, look at what I'm doing. I'd recently shared at a volunteer appreciation lunch that if you're a service-oriented personality, a sevaka, then you should expect no ROI. No ROI. What does ROI mean in the financial world? Please share in the chat. Return on investment, correct. In the field of service, no ROI means no recognition, no ovation, even though we gave an ovation, and no inclusion. That you don't do this to be included. That's only possible. One will only not live for ROI if one is engaged in their responsibility. I'd read a light quote that said, if one is busy doing what they like, they have no time to judge others. Correct? So engage your responsibility. And one more thought on this is, for those who are engaged in their responsibility, you are going to get what you need, but not from the outside. You're going to get this from the inside. You're going to feel more calm, more quiet, more fulfilled. How many of you can relate to what I'm sharing? Good. I'm supposed to finish now, but I am going to take 5 more minutes. And it's okay because all of what we're going to do, we have buffered time for this. Plus, the people who are attending to Dynamics and Dialogue, are they going to mute me right now? I remember being at one reception. Have any of you not been to an Indian reception before? You've never been to an Indian reception? Okay. If you haven't, good for you. So I was at this one Indian reception, and the groom's father was speaking, and he was going on and on and on. So the groom, imagine this man's son, was trying to go up to him to say, keep moving. And this groom's father says in front of everyone, I paid for this reception. I'm going to speak as long as I want to. The second personality power, not Anima, but Mahima. Mahima is a popular name that many people have. Mahima. Let's start from the perspective of traditions. It is the physical power to make oneself big. Arima, to make oneself small. Mahima, to make oneself big. When Sri Hanumana was on the border of Bharat or India, and he was looking across the ocean to Lanka, he was overthinking, how am I going to make it from here to there to help Devi Sita? And at that time, one of his guides, his name is Jambavan, he came behind him and whispered in his ear, don't you remember why you were born? You were born to engage in Sri Rama's work, to be in his service. And with that one insight that went through Sri Hanumana's ears, he started breathing heavily. His body started to expand. In the Marvel comics, when the scientist becomes Hulk, that's been copied from Sri Hanumana. He becomes this immense being, and he becomes as big as a mountain, and he jumps from Mount Mandara and crushes it and starts to take off towards Lanka. From tradition to ties, what Mahima means for our personalities is confidence. Confidence. On a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being awesome, 1 being awful, how confident are you? Now, I'm asking you to share in front of everyone right now. This is incredible. We have 206 seekers joining us through Zoom and another 25 through Facebook. This is so big. Share in the chat from 1 to 100. How confident are you? Whoa, a 98, 94.5. I hope it's high. There's too many numbers for me to track. What is confidence? Confidence is when you have a deep appreciation for who you are. I'm going to say that again. A deep appreciation for who you are. And when this is set in place, then you have a deep appreciation for what you do. I began trying to serve humanity on January 14th, 2008. I'm about to complete 15 years. Over the past 15 years, interacting with all of you, with thousands, what I've observed is those who are trying to be liked by those who are trying to be liked don't like themselves. Those who are trying to be validated by those who need to be validated end up being insecure. When we live by being liked and being validated, we end up being shallow. We don't have that deep appreciation for who we are, and so we overcompensate by being arrogant. shifting to technique, and I'll just introduce it today so that we can continue with dynamics. The technique to practice this value of confidence or Mahima is research your identity. Get to know who you are. As the Oracle tells Neo in the Matrix, know thyself. Downtime is complete. We got to listen to awesome Mridanga. Discourse is complete. Our first two personality powers, humility and confidence. Engage your responsibility and research your identity. We continue to dynamics. Our dynamics, this is a way we can practice together, is going to be facilitated by Sunita. Aryan is joining us from Chicago. Sunita is joining us from Stamford, Connecticut. And she is a seeker, just like Aryan. She's a little bit older than grade 7, just like Aryan. And Sunita is part of KPMG's global team. She's not located in an individual city's office, but she works for KPMG's global team. And she is going to guide us, is going to challenge us in design thinking. Sunita, lead away.
Thank you. Hari Om. Hari Om to Vivek ji, Hari Om to all seekers. It was interesting when Vivek ji asked me to talk about design thinking and Vedanta. And, you know, I realized that it's a framework for that companies now, it's become part of the way of working for innovation. Whenever we talk about innovation, there's the methodology to be followed, and there's a methodology to develop new products that your customers, whoever's receiving the service, and be tuned with the needs. And actually, if you really look at it, it's a framework that's for any improvement or any innovation. So with the 25 odd minutes or less I have, I'm going to walk you through quickly. So it's going to be very rapid. So have something to write down, grab a piece of paper, pencil, because we're going to go fast. This is usually done over days, and we're going to give you a sample here on how to apply for Vedanta. So here, the dynamics is looking on our self-development journey. So I'm going to give you a methodology and then some very high-level thoughts before we jump into this rapid exercise. The framework will be applied for self-development, and it'll be timed. It'll be rapid. So be fast thinker for the next few minutes. It'll be simple yet radical. And don't overthink this, and it'll be directional and impactful from whatever you come out of this, if you walk this journey with fast. Now, isn't it amazing that the design thinking framework is actually the infinity sign? I was thinking, what a great message that infinity sign and design thinking flow is the same for innovation. So design thinking says, you start with empathize. That's your first step. Then you define, then you ideate, then you prototype, you test, and you implement. And you keep doing this. Once you implement, you again go to empathize. So it's this non-linear framework, but it's continuous. It's not, start to finish and then you just watch. So we're going to apply this thinking today. So we will focus a lot on empathize, on define and ideate, and then we'll leave you with next steps. So first step is the groundwork here is empathize. It's amazing that, what self-development talks is the virtues we talk about, that Vivek, you just talked about being humble and now here, this next minute, we are going to set empathizing, empathy-filled thoughts to ourselves. So this is 1 minute, just close your eyes, relax your body, breathe naturally, and send empathy-filled thoughts to yourself. You are empathizing with who you are. That's the groundwork. We cannot do any work on top of until we are empathizing with ourselves. So as I said, this will go fast. So we're going to go to step 2. For each of these steps, I will give you 2 minutes. So as you think of it, please do have a piece of paper and pen to write with. And now think of your current state of your self-development journey. The current state. So not how we wish it would be or how it was, how you thought it should have been, could have been. It's the current state. Now to think of the current state in 3 words. I could even give you 3 phrases. Don't write sentences. Don't overthink this. In your current state of your self-development journey, describe it in 3 words or 3 phases. And I'm timing it here, so there'll be music playing. I'm timing it so that you have the time I will give you when there's 1 minute left. Okay, so that's your current state. You have 3 words or phrases about what's your current state of your self-development journey. Okay, we switch now to your desired state of your destination of your self-development journey. What's the desired state? Again, 3 words or phrases. Do not overthink this. Think of in your, as you visualize, as you're immersed in this, what is the desired state of your destination? You have 2 minutes, so take your time. One minute left. Desired state of your self-development journey. Where do you think you'll reach? How does that look like? 3 words or 3 phrases. No sentences. We're keeping this short and sweet, running through this framework in 25 minutes or less. Okay, 14. All right, so we're going to go to step 4. Now, this I will give you 3 minutes. This is define the blockers or challenges to reach that destination. So you just define 3 words or phrases for your self-development destination. Now, what's stopping you from getting there? Or what is challenging for you to get there? What's in the way? What would have to be changed? What is in the way in reaching your destination? Like if you had this or if you had that, you see a clear path to your destination. So I will give you 3 minutes here because this is now gets more thoughts. So again, 3 words or phrases. You have your desired state. So what's the blocker or challenge? Why are you not there already? And don't overthink it. You know the desired destination. So, it could be prioritization, time, organizing, whatever the challenges there are in your self-development journey. Consistency, patience, other priorities. Okay, so one more minute and we'll go to step 5. So far you had current state, desired state, blockers and challenges. Okay, and 17. So we go to step 5. Here again, you'll have 3 minutes to define the solutions for those blockers and challenges. And there's no idea that's far-fetched. Be open-minded and even vulnerable, because here you are looking at, okay, these are my blockers and challenges. What solutions can be any number of solutions at this point? It's focus on the, it can be however number, quantity is not the problem, but look at solutions that are tackling those blockers and challenges. Okay. So you have 3 minutes. Another minute and a half. Okay. Okay. So make sure those blockers you identified and challenges you identified have some solution. They could be 1, they could be 10. Quantity is not the issue here. That they truly address those blockers and challenges, that you think you can get to your destination. Okay, we're moving to step 6. This will take somewhat of the remaining time, all of it. And here we're looking at impact and effort. So just I want to give you the introduction to this framework. So here you're prioritizing. So for those solutions that you came up with, we said 3. If you came up with 5, that's fine. Plot them in these 4 boxes. So impact, what is the impact of that solution that you came up with for your self-development journey? How impactful is it? Is it high impact? Is it low impact? And then in terms of effort, is it low effort or high effort in how much you have to put in for this? And so you just plot them in these 4 areas, and then we'll come back and look at what these 4 areas mean. But for now, each solution that you came up with, where are they in the scale of impact? Where are they in the scale of effort? So we'll give, again, 3 minutes here. So look at the solutions you came up with and plot them. As an example, if someone mentioned consistency, then consistency has a high impact on your self-development journey. And how much effort do you have to put? If you think it's low effort and you can be consistent, well, that's a quick win then. If you think it's high effort and high impact, well, then even more reason to do it, because that's your big bet, being consistent. So each solution, try to look at the impact on your self-development journey and how much effort do you have to put, low effort, high effort. This allows you to put your resource, time, and energy in the focus that you have for your self-development, give you more return on your investment, on your time, on your effort, on your resources. So another minute, we will wrap up. So as you can imagine, big bets are those high effort, high value. So that we have to carefully plan and test. Now this will be the next step. So once you have your quick wins and your big bets, we are ready to go to the next step, which is you want to prototype. So in this case, prototype will be you model that. If you say, okay, for the next 3 days, I'm going to apply the solution, and you're testing it. You're testing your idea consistently. When you came up with the idea, you're testing it. When you're implementing it, you're testing it. Testing is part of the whole framework, because you wouldn't know how effective it is or not. And obviously you implement. Anybody at this point want to share quickly in the chat any solution they came up with that was a big bet? I would love to hear what was your big bet, where the effort is high, is also high, but it will be very transformational in that case. I don't know if we have a time for anyone to share by coming off mute, but do please put in the chat. I'm trying to keep up to the time Vivek gave, so I'll try to finish it by the time. So that was the next step. And so what happens is with applying this framework, it gives you a structured framework. So you are not, there are a lot of ideas and it's not your emotions. It has a more structured framework to prioritize and test it, what works for you. Therefore, self-development leading to self-realization. Ancient man and they said, we are ego-realized souls, and as we just finished Gita Jayanti, we were looking at this. The Gita's call is to become soul-realized ego, in which case the ego is dissolved into the soul. So a good framework to work on our self-development journey. At this point, I'll give it back to Vivekji, if there's any time for anyone to share, we welcome that. Thank you.
Right on, Sunita ji, for sharing your professional experience with all of us, and especially me, who has no professional experience. One of the questions I had asked you in the chat was, can you measure how Vedanta / self-development has helped you be a professional, be a part of KPMG? So you're welcome to share that in the chat, and everyone else too. This is the dynamics. So we're practicing together. What revelation, what reflection have you come up with through this design thinking? And usually design thinking is about a corporation. This is about your personality, your life. So please share away. With our dynamics complete, I'll share one more thought before we reach the last part of our workshop. It's incredible how fast time goes. It's already almost 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. When you hear or read the word powerful, tell me what comes into your mind. What is triggered? Share in the chat. When you hear, I'm saying the word powerful, or you read it, powerful, what comes to your mind? Impact, dominating, your parent, in control, competence. Okay. For me, when I hear or read the word power, typically, when I'm instinctive with my thinking, it goes to physicality. That I'm more powerful than my children. My children are more powerful than the insects that they explore outside, and so on. But making this more subtle, I feel that many in society, when they infer power, they think of those who have more pleasure. They go on fancier vacations. They eat more expensive food. They're powerful. More subtle than that is those who have more possessions. Their square footage is grander. Their technology is more complex. More subtle than that is position. They get concert tickets before everyone else. They employ this many people. Yet, if we are honest with ourselves, if we are vulnerable, those we are most drawn to, we are most attracted to in a meaningful way, is not those who have more physicality or pleasure or possession or position, but they have more peace. Do you agree? We cannot resist those who are peaceful. We're drawn to them. We want to see them. We want to hear them. Being peaceful, the genesis of this is being virtuous. Humility and confidence. With our dynamics, we found many ways to be more confident. All of this is in the field of self-development. You are joy. And the more you make your personality powerful, the more you will be peaceful. Number one, for yourself. Number two, for others. Now, you may have many questions about this, and so we are shifting to our dialogue. Now, this is the point of our workshop or our classes where I ask all of you, if you have any questions, you can virtually put your hand up, and I start to answer them. But this evening's dialogue will be facilitated by my wife. I am Sheila's husband. See the arrogance. how she's in reference to me, but I corrected it that I am in reference to her by Sheila. Sheila is the seeker. I openly share that she has been a seeker before I was. And maybe she's part of the reason why I continue to be a seeker. Sheila is also a professional. She is an attorney who practices in America and Canada and helps. She was telling me recently about a refugee in Somalia and how difficult their life has been, their family life has been. So she engages in such service professionally. And she is going to tend to our dialogue from her own personal experiences. All of you have access to Slido. This was emailed to you. It may be shared in the chat again. And in Slido, you can share with everyone which questions you feel are more relevant. So you can look at this, but for this dialogue, our crew is going to read out the most relevant questions for Sheila, and she will answer. I'm putting myself on mute and I'm taking notes now, okay? You should do the same.
Hariom Vivekji and Hariom Sheila and everyone. Sheila, our first question this evening is how do we teach kids to be humble when the world teaches otherwise with praises and awards?
Hariom, everyone. I really wish I knew who was asking the question. That would help, but that's okay. So if I were Vivek, I would say at a high level, the ego, but I actually don't know the high level answer. So I'll do Sheila level. So Sheila, you cut out for the first part, but it was how to address humility with children specifically when they're surrounded by praise and awards or rewards.
That's exactly it. Okay. So how to teach kids to be humble when the world teaches otherwise with praises and awards.
Okay. Well, first, I just want to preface this with, I don't have that much Vedantic knowledge, maybe not any. So this is really just from my own experience that I'm answering these questions. Vivek and I try really hard not to praise our kids. And I think, and a lot of people find that sort of shocking because we are in a society where we expect praise. We expect acknowledgement for what we're doing. And not only that, but we expect people to, comment positively on what we've done or how we've done it. I remember growing up thinking like, I just danced. How did I do? Or like, I just did this artwork. How is it? Like, there was always this expectation for something. And that totally is contrary to what we're studying, which is, we should be doing things for the sake of the joy of doing it and not for any fruits of action. So yeah, with our kids, we really try not to praise them for their own well-being. So, and if they are, and they are surrounded by praise, when we take them places with us, there's often lots of comments. You're so cute. You're so smart, or whatever it is. And we don't say anything, but we let it go. We smile and, say thank you. And that's the most you can do. Right. I don't think, but I think most learning comes from the home. And so in your own home, if you want your children to be humble and you believe that unnecessary praise is not conducive to their well-being, then don't do it at home. Instead, you can say, wow, I really like the colors you used, or I like the song you chose to dance to, but you may not be praising the action that they're doing. I don't know if that's a helpful answer, but that's the best I can do.
Thank you, Sheila. That was really lovely to hear for all of us. Sheila, the next question is how can we be confident and still stay humble?
Okay. So when I think of confidence, I always think of Hanumanji and humility. And Hanumanji had both of these things, obviously. Very confident, very humble. Think for a second. When you're humble, there's no doership. You are not identifying as, as Sheila doing the action. You're doing. And so I think as a result of that, there's so much joy in the action, and there's no ego identified in the action you're doing. So as a result, confidence just comes. In the things that I love doing the most, I think I'm the most humble, because there's just inherent joy in what I'm doing, like being with the kids. I love it. I love being a mother. So I don't really have much attachment to Sheila is doing. Sheila is, being a good mother or making good food or mediocre food. It's just I'm doing because I love it. And so as a result, I feel humble and confident in what I'm doing, regardless of how well I'm doing it. I think
that was lovely. Yeah, that was so beautiful. The next question from our seeker is self-love selfish? How can you be happy and be unaffected by problems and stress experienced by those around us? Let me repeat that one more time. Is self-love selfish? Can you be happy and be unaffected by the problems and stress experienced by those around us?
Okay. I think self-love is crucial. In order to exude, I think, the virtues that we want to exude, you have to love yourself. You have to be secure in yourself. And in my experience, the only way to do that is to surround yourself with people who are the same, who are positive, who are, they uplift you. And, don't surround yourselves with people who bring you down. It took me a long time to learn that, but now I'm very comfortable saying no. And if there's people who stress me out or have vices that affect me, I realize I'm very sensitive to being in different groups of people. It really affects my mind. So I think I'm good about setting those parameters of who I choose to spend my time with. And so I think that helps with loving yourself, being around people who love themselves and uplift you. And in the same way, spending time with yourself so you love yourself. I wish that's something I did growing up more when I was younger. I even tell Vivek, we talk about life a lot, and I wish I spent more time alone before marriage so I could get to know who I was and really understand, my vices, my virtues. What do I care about? So I think, I can't remember the question. Is self-love selfish? Absolutely not. I think you must love yourself so sincerely in order to give yourself to the world. The second part of the question was stress, how to be unaffected by stress. So here, I think I would say it really depends on the person, because, if I talk to Vivek, he can be around people who are quote unquote stressful or exude that vibe, and he's fine. Whereas me, it affects me. I'll talk to him about it later. I'll say, I was so agitated by this, this bothered me. So number one, try to avoid those situations. Obviously, that's not possible. We can't do that often with family, work situations, etc. So in those situations, like with me, work, Vivek was just sharing an experience. Often I have these experiences with work, which are very traumatizing to hear and difficult to block out of my mind. So I have a choice. I cannot do those cases, or I can pray for those people, do my job, fulfill my responsibility as best as I can, and just pray. If I'm particularly bothered, like last night I couldn't sleep, chant. I do Hanuman Chalisa, very practical. Yeah.
Thank you for being so open. I think we can all so relate to what you've shared. Another question, which I think a lot of us can relate to, is how do we remain sattvic in our careers? especially in careers like law and banking, where office politics is so potent?
Sheetal, you know, I'm self-employed. I don't know if I can answer this question. How do we remain sattvic? So I think we have to think about what sattvic means and how much it aligns with our personalities, number one, and with our careers. Like if we choose a career that's like absolutely not sattvic, it's very difficult. You have to kind of have a certain personality to be sattvic in that position. So I think that's important to be clear about. But how would I be sattvic in a position? See, I feel like I'm lucky because I don't know that I could be in an environment that's not so sattvic, but I have that privilege now. So I don't have to be around too many people. I can control my own work. I'm my own boss. But if I wasn't in that situation, I think the biggest reminder is that, you know, like what Vivek was talking about, when we think about doership, all we can do is do our best. And at the end of the day, what I try to remind myself is I'm not indispensable. Like anyone can do my job who is in a lawyer and in immigration. You know, it's not, I'm privileged to have had this education and I can do this work, but really I'm not indispensable. So I don't feel very strongly that Sheila is doing so much and helping this person. And I really don't. I like my job, so I feel lucky that I can do it, but that's about it. So I think it's important to remind ourselves that it sounds harsh, but like, you know, other people can do the same job that we do. We're not that special in that way. There are other things that make us special. So do your best. Try not to have strong expectations or any expectations for that matter. Subjective ones, of course. Objective expectations make sense, but try not to have subjective expectations and leave your work and come home and you know, keep those things separate. I think that's important to remember. Do your job, do it well, and that's it. Leave it at that.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Sheila, the next question is, can you please say a little more about engaging in your responsibilities? How can this be applied?
Okay. Engaging in responsibilities. So I think it's important to be aware of what your responsibilities are before we think about, you know, what this heavy sort of term means. So be clear about what your responsibilities are. What does it mean to engage? I think very simply, it's the action that you engage in to fulfill that responsibility. So me being a parent, me doing my work, it's the actions that I do toward those ends. So what does it mean to engage in a responsibility and how to do it when you're fully, so I think it's very important to be engaged in responsibility because it helps to reduce likes and dislikes. With me, I found that when I'm very engaged, especially now after having kids, like as a mother working, I find that I'm so absorbed in these different responsibilities that there's less propensity for my mind to wander into this and that, like shopping or I don't know, spending time with people who may not be good for me. So engaging in responsibility, what it means to me is having that presence of mind to execute my responsibilities in the best way that I can. So when I'm working, and that's all I'm doing. Although I do multitask a lot, but that's another conversation. Yeah, I think that answers the question. So performing the action toward an end with full presence of mind and not expecting anything out of it. I think it certainly helps to love a responsibility. If you love, you know, cooking, you love being a parent, you love your work, that certainly helps. And that's a great thing. But if you don't have that luxury, then just all you can do is do your best and try to remember that there's more at play than you just doing the action.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sheila. I think we have time for one more question. The question is again relating to children. It is, how can we make our kids to be honest to themselves and to their families? Sometimes we feel that kids are more transparent to others than to their own families.
It's very timely. Vyasa is going through a phase right now where he lies to us about everything. So I don't know that I can answer this, but I will try. So basically, how to cultivate the quality of honesty with our children. All I can think of is having strong communication in the household, I think, is so important. And that doesn't just mean like facilitating communication directly with kids, but I think also, like, so for example, in our house, Vivek and I should be able to communicate well in front of our kids. So I often say, like, it's good for us to argue and it's good for us to have differing points of view so they can see that and understand that this is life and, you know, it's okay. So yeah, I think when they see that open communication and that, like, I'm not hiding anything, he's not hiding anything, then naturally they'll feel more comfortable, like maybe less fearful sharing with me. So I think that's one part of it. The second part of it is we try to encourage communication with the kids. Often I find one-on-one time is really integral to doing that. So like at bedtime, that's when I'll talk to Vyasa. I'll say, so how was your day? Like, is there anything you want to talk about? Is there ever anything that makes you upset that you never, you know, just like some probing questions once in a while to get them thinking and get them in that comfortable atmosphere of sharing. So I think that's important. There's one more thing. And then openly just telling them that, you know, don't be scared about getting into trouble or judgment, because we want to hear from you. And then to that end, you know, not getting mad at them for sharing. That's very important, because if there is anger, if they do feel like there are repercussions when they share honestly, then obviously that's a deterrent for them sharing in the future. So I think we have to be careful not to react too negatively when Vyasa, you know, may say something like he did something wrong, or he lied, or he took something from school. That's another thing. He's like taking things from school. So we have to just say, okay, this is what happened. That's not okay, but I'm glad you told me. So yeah, I think fostering an environment that's conducive to like open communication without judgment. That's I think what I'll share there.
Just reading some of the messages in the chat, we can just see how appreciative everyone is for just your openness, your honesty, your vulnerability. Thank you so much, Sheila, for engaging in dialogue with us this evening.
Thank you. Sorry, no acronyms from me, everyone. That's Vivek's territory.
You have to shift the volume now. I'm jealous. I spoke for 35 minutes on that which will change your life. And look at the comments that are being shared in the chat right now. Once, Sri Ramana was trying to teach his disciple about how more important than what is said is who is saying. And this disciple didn't understand, so he shared a story. The story goes like this. There was a king and a minister and 2 bodyguards. And the minister was trying to make the king understand how important it is about who he is. And the king wasn't understanding. So the minister told these bodyguards, arrest this man. The bodyguards didn't move at all. So the minister said in a more firm voice, arrest this man. Still no movement. So the minister essentially holds him by the shoulders and said, arrest this man. Now the king is annoyed and he shares with these bodyguards, arrest this man. And immediately they move to arrest the minister, but understanding the context. I share this because so much of what you asked, and more so what Sheila shared, you can get from random FAQs on YouTube or Facebook and so on and so forth. But it's the experience that makes the responses impactful. Agreed? More important than what is said is who is saying that. And this is the reason why the dialogue in our workshop, which Sheila began today, each evening we will have a different seeker teacher in their own way, tend to the dialogue. And I'm sharing a hint in advance that this will all be Devis. Our women will be tending to all of our dialogues. From downtime, the opportunity for us to slow down. There's many of you who are joining outside of America and Canada. Can you please share in the chat where you're joining from? I see so many seekers who are outside of North America. Please let us know. What city particularly? Our discourse on humility and confidence. Tomorrow we take up two more values, acceptance and dedication. How to be light and how to be heavy. Our dynamics on design thinking. Not design thinking on how we can have more profit, but design thinking on how we can be more peaceful. And then dialogue. How do we practice this from someone who has experience? The final part of our workshop, for those who joined us at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, we're approaching being together for 100 minutes. Does it feel like 100 minutes? Here again, for my confidence, is you're supposed to be, no, Vivekji, it feels like 10 minutes. Your rad, your reflection adventure of the day, only those who are joining us through Zoom, through Facebook, only you will have access to this. This is not a social media rad. Your rad is everyone you speak to for the next 24 hours until we meet again tomorrow at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Everyone you speak to, as you're speaking to them, to look at them in the eyes. Make eye contact as you speak to them, whether it's in person or virtually. While our dynamics is going on or dialogue, even while I'm speaking, I never have it on speaker view. That's a very scary view. I always have it on gallery. So I can see your eyes. I'm making eye contact with you. I hope you can feel the same. So that is your reflection adventure of the day. In terms of announcements, our community, which I shared, started in September of 2016. We've celebrated 6 years together. Further on in our workshop, our crew is going to share about our community. Our community is quite active on social media. That's why at one point, I think we had maybe 210 seekers joining us through Zoom. And if you look around, if you scroll to the last screen, I'm doing that right now, you can do it also. You can see almost everyone has their camera on. Those who don't have their camera on right now are feeling bad because they don't have their camera on. Yes, those who don't have their camera on. See, it's so awesome. Look how they're all turning their cameras on right now. And on Facebook, we must have had 25 seekers. So our community is quite expansive. And so we use social media to engage everyone. Chinmay Mission Niagara's Facebook account has over 2,000 followers. And if you're not one of them, please do follow us, do like us. The same goes with Instagram and Twitter. Now, many of you are thinking, here we're talking about humility and here you're talking about self-promotion. This self-promotion, I'm sharing very practically, is only so more service can happen. Some months ago, I spoke at the KPMG Stamford office. And because that went well, I was invited to speak at the KPMG Global office. Do you see how this one step leads to more service? So please reorient this notion of why such sharing happens about following and liking our social media accounts. It is only to engage in being more happy and sharing more happiness. A special appreciation to all of our seeking culture students and parenting culture students. On Monday nights, we have a class on seeking culture, a course on seeking culture for those who are 17 to 28. All those who are 17 to 28, please share something positive in the chat right now so everyone can know who you are. Those who are 17 to 28. And our parenting culture course and class, many of you wish that Sheila gave those discourses instead of me. I also wish Sheila gave those discourses instead of me so I can watch more series on Netflix. Everyone who's in our parenting culture course and class, please share something positive also so everyone knows you. If this interests you, do go to Chinmay Mission Niagara's website where details about these courses are there. Okay. We had begun with me asking all of you to come closer to your camera. It's now 100 minutes later. Come closer to the camera. Let me see your eyebrows. Let me see your chin. And let me see your smile. Okay, I'm on screen 1. Keep smiling. I'm on screen 2. I see seekers from Cleveland and Georgia. Tomorrow's the vote in Georgia. Seekers from Toronto and seekers from Raleigh and seekers from New Zealand. Wonderful. Relax your bodies. Inhale deeply through your nose. Shanti. 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 Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.